What you're about to witness is a build that for absolute certain nobody else on the planet is using or has shown. It has taken me through the campaign, allowed me to carry a newer gamer, upping the difficulty. Overall, it carries the ability to melt bosses and AoE encounters in seconds with relative ease. The movement to survive the damage output, and the tools you need to get the maximum enjoyment out of a monk. And now, it's time for me to share it with you. We will go over the skills, the passives, the gems, and then some gameplay tips. And hopefully after that, you will be one with the monk. Starting with the skills. If you've just started monk, you're not going to have most of the things on my bars right now. What you're mainly going to be doing at the start is you'll be doing your basic attack, quarterstaff strike, or you're going to be doing falling thunder, killing palm. Kill something with killing palm, you get a charge. It pops up right here, and that's up left. And then you'll let that go with your falling thunder. Now, if you are just starting out, probably the first thing you want to get is this here, Glacial Cascade. What this does is it throws out a wave, okay? And that turns you into a ranged character, basically, and it lets you move around and avoid the enemy smacking you in the face, because things hit pretty hard in this game. And you can dodge around and throw this out, and you can see it's a line, so that's some kind of AoE. And if something is frozen, those spikes, you can see the big pillar at the end of it, that'll consume the freeze and do a good amount of damage. Now your next option, if you're starting very early, is this here, Frozen Locust. This is sort of a defensive. It throws out this pillar, and that will stop things. It acts as an actual physical object, and then you can come up and whack it. And when you whack it, it does a little bit of damage around it, and it's a great tool for just backing up. You can see if you do a backflip there, you can backflip into it and then dodge roll out, and that's a lot of distance covered while also slowing down enemies, because you can see it puts out a chilling effect there. That's going to slow them, and that'll let you go right back into doing this, creating distance, and then being able to go right back into spamming Cascade. Very strong early. Now fast forwarding a little bit, the second you can get this spell, Tempest Bell, you need to get it, because this spell is huge for our damage. Okay? When you throw this down, you're going to whack it and it's going to send out a shockwave. And if you hit that with a certain element, the bell's going to get that element and then mimic it out. And then suddenly you're getting a ton of freeze, a ton of ice, and your damage really ramps. Now, once you get it, you can use it with Cascade. You can throw down your bell, you know, Frozen Locust out, back up, and then say your bell's here, and just kind of spam it. That's okay, but you're probably better off just quarter striking it. That'll do a lot of damage, and that does change your gameplay up. You're starting to get more damage, you're starting to really pump, but you're not quite there yet. Until you can get this here, Ice Strike, which you'll get a little later. But once you get this, the entire build comes online, and that's this here. That's when things just start to ramp up to 1,000. That, combined with Herald of Ice here, which just adds even more damage on top of everything, you really start to melt things just in an instant. Because Herald of Ice, once you freeze something and then shatter it, which you build up freeze like mad in this, which helps with bosses, it helps with AoE, it's a little absurd right now. But once you shatter them, this explodes and does a ton more damage, and then even later you get more things that synergize with it, with the explosions. So you just kind of become a monster over time. Now before going into the later game, or once you kind of get everything that brings everything online, I did end up keeping Killing Palm and Falling Thunder. Falling Thunder is good for when you don't want to get really close, something's really dangerous, really tough fight, and you need some AoE, and you can get a charge, which Killing Palm gives that to you. So you kind of dash in, get your charge, back up, and then you can Falling Thunder. Oftentimes, you'll have a charge already before you back up from Killing Palm once you're in melee. But it's nice, too, when you're fighting bosses or just anything that needs to die, because once it gets below a certain threshold, Killing Palm acts as an execute, too. And that's really nice knowing you have a little leeway when a boss is getting low in particular. It pops up a little blue icon, and that means Killing Palm will kill it. You throw that out, boom, boss is dead, fight's over, and you don't have to deal with maybe another mechanic that might have killed you. Now, I'm trying not to make this video last a long time, so we'll go over some just early support gems. The biggest one, early, I guess there'd be two. This one for Killing Palm, supported skills have a 50% chance to grant an additional charge. That's nice, full of Falling Thunder early. But the second you can get Tempest Bell, you want to get this one here. Supported skills have a +1 to limit. What it does do is while you have a build down, it allows you to continue building combo points. So once the bell's gone, you can throw another one down immediately after and continue the damage. And I'll show you here how that kind of works. So you see I've got an enemy here. I'll go in, and my Tempest Bell is down here. There's a 0 next to it. That's the charges. All right, I go in, 2, 4, and then I throw the bell, and then I start it in again, and the charges are going. Obviously, it stopped because I killed everything, but that's the general idea and the main purpose of that gem. It really, really helps being able to throw down another bell the second that your bell goes away. Rather than if you didn't have it, then when that bell goes down, even if you're hitting enemies, those charges aren't coming up. So you have to wait for your bell to go away, and then you have to start the process again, and that really hurts your DPS overall. Now, besides those two, your next biggest gem early is probably going to be this here, 25% more attack speed. And beyond that, just going forward with gems in general, I have extra cold damage here on my main skill, Ice Strike. And then I've got another one that's just weapon elemental damage. Cold is elemental damage, more damage. From there, I've got some pen on Herald of Ice. I tried it on Ice Strike versus just some more flat damage, thinking that it would contribute to more damage, but it doesn't. It lowers it. It's just not as much. It's not bad, but it's just not as good. There's a lot of gems that I just have random things on. Probably the most next notable would be in my Tempest Bell, where I have poison. I throw the bell down and start whacking it. It starts poisoning things. And the big reason for that is this here. Poison applied by supported skills also breaks armor. You do a lot of physical damage with Monk, so having an armor break on something that's already in your rotation, without you having to go out of your way at all, is amazing, and it's a pretty big damage boost overall. Now, depending what you're doing, if you go Invoker or you go the Darkness route, I went the Darkness route. On paper, I think Invoker looks stronger, just because of how strong Cold is. But I went the Darkness route, and that gives me this spell here. What this one allows you to do is it lets you put actual skills into its support gem slot, which I have Hypothermia, and that is lowers their cold resistance. It's a curse. Very nice. More damage. And then I have Freezing Mark, which is another explosion. Even more AoE damage, more burst. You just come in. Let me see if I can find something here. You dash in, and boom, both of those are active, and you can see them. There's a triangle there. Okay, that's the curse, and then the snowflake is the freezing mark. So those are the gems, and I've already kind of showed the skills. The last one is this here, Shattering Palm. It's another explosion. You dash in, it puts shards on them, and once you gain enough, it explodes, and does even more damage. So you've got all these different things that are stacking together and just pumping out a huge amount of burst damage once you build enough freeze. The only caveat is with this Shattering Palm, once it goes off, it removes it, so you're gonna have to reapply it consistently. And I waited so long to mention this because you don't get this until pretty far in. It says level 41, so I'm gonna assume I got it at 41. It's been a minute. And finally, and this one isn't shown on my bars, Staggering Palm. This one's deceptive because at first glance I thought this was bad, but the more and more I started to use it when I was getting into the harder parts of the game, the more I realized just how much it adds. Basically, when you first look at this, you think it's just a stun and adds some projectiles, but when you throw in your Tempest Bell and everything else going at once, this thing adds a ton of damage. So if you see the icon pop up, this works the same way as Killing Blow, except instead of a blue circle on their head, it's a yellow one. You do that stun, and you start whacking at your bell, and the damage just shoots. You shouldn't be hitting this and then just sitting at range throwing it. You have better tools to do that, and you also have gameplay adjustments where you don't need to be sitting at range later on. And I'll go ahead and show you now what a later gameplay rotation kind of looks like. So I'm going to show the rotation here. The rotation where you're geared and you don't need to play safe. That's actually a separate thing, which I'll show after this. When things start hitting you really hard and you need to finesse a little bit. I'll go into this boss here and I'll just kind of show you what your rotation is going to look like and how the gameplay is going to look. So we've got the Witch here. I'm going to go in, hit my Curse, hit my Shattering Palm, start whacking Bell, and now boom, and now I've got another Bell coming out. I'm hitting my health potions and mana pods as I see them move. Mark fell off, Curse fell off, reapply it, boom, keep whacking at it. And mind you, I'm not crazy geared right now at all. There's the icon, she's stunned. Going back in, continue, marks, curses, continue, Bell. And look at that damage starting to go. That's because everything has properly ramped up at this point. And now here's the execute. Boom. And it's done. And that is me being relatively under-geared and working with what I have and just have managed to find. I do have a yellow weapon on right now, but it's not so amazing. Alright? It took me about 15 levels to get a weapon upgrade. At no point in the game will you really not have the damage with this build. The problem realistically becomes your mana. Can you kill it before you run out of mana? That was the biggest problem I ran into. Not that the bosses were one-shotting me or that they were killing me. It was eventually I just ran out of mana because I could not find a weapon upgrade. There will be points when you are severely undergeared and you can just find nothing. And with this build, and the monk in general, you're not done. Okay? You're not completely just screwed and you can't kill anything. No, there's a separate way to play it. And what you do is something like this. Come in, dodge out, curse up, dodge out, whack whack, dodge out, bell, and the second the bell comes out, you can just burst, and you're going to freeze things, you're going to stun them, and then everything's going to die. This came into play for me late in the story. All right, like the end of Act 3. Things were just trucking me. I could not get near them. There was nothing I could do. And I started incorporating this. Try to get out of the mindset that you need to constantly be doing damage in order to be succeeding. Because it's just not true in this game. At least not while you're gearing. Alright? You can go in, boom, out, whack, whack, bell, and then everything's cleared, and you're completely fine. You've killed things, and now you're continuing, and you're healthy. See that? Monk has a lot of mobility, and the dodge roll covers a good amount of distance. Never feel like you need to just be spamming the dodge roll button. You are always in control with this build and with the monk. You control it. Don't panic and let the game lead you to believe that, oh my god, there's so much happening. Like, That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get you to panic, to try to make you feel like you are overwhelmed. There's too much coming out. But the reality is, if you stay calm and just take things slow when you need to, then you're fine. And then you go in for your burst windows. Okay? Now, a little bit on the gearing. Just kind of what you're wanting to look for with this build. I just got this. But physical damage, you do a lot of physical damage with this build too. If you can get a percentage physical damage, that helps a lot. Another huge one is attack speed. Ideally, you'd get something with physical damage percent, elemental damage percent, and attack speed. That would be like the god roll. It'd be amazing. But beyond that, as you're leveling up and as you're playing, you're gonna want to be looking for things with just basic stats. There have been so many times where I couldn't equip something because I just didn't have the stats. And early, when you really need damage or mana, spending your passive points into attributes kind of hurts. And also, it takes so much to get that when you could just get a piece of gear with a bunch of stats on it and be fine. Like, I've got plus 15 dexterity there. That helps. I think these have intelligence. That is a huge amount of intelligence. So if you get something like that, that's going to be very valuable for you. Maximum life is really nice. Resistances are nice. They're okay. But the biggest ones I noticed that I started really looking for were attributes. Attributes help the build, help you equip more skills, help you equip your newer skills when the attribute requirement goes up. Those are huge. Now, getting into the passive tree, I don't think this is the perfect setup, and by no means anything in this build is like the best, but it did work for me playing with a duo who is very, very new to games of this nature and games in general, very casual, which meant that I had to kind of pick up the slack a bit more, which obviously means I have to do more damage, I have to deal with more things, and this build did take me through that. Now, the biggest bottleneck for me, by far, was mana, which is why in a lot of these nodes, I've got a lot of mana regeneration. A lot of times the bosses, my health potion would be fine, but I would just be out of mana. My mana potion would be gone, and I couldn't use skills. Once you get a lot of attack speed, you really chew through mana with this build. So we'll just go over a couple of notes here. Here's a big one. Okay, reduce mana cost, mana regeneration. I went the evasion route defensively. I tried it with armor. It didn't feel as good. So I kind of went evasion, energy shield, more focused on evasion. That seemed to do the best. It made me feel the tankiest. The next biggest one besides mana regeneration is attack speed. And this node right here, you can see it's a little bit up there. Deep Trance. It gives attack speed and it reduces the cost of your skills. This is a huge node. It helps so much. I have this here because, like I said, I went the darkness route. I'm kind of messing around with the chaos damage. I haven't fully sat down yet to theory craft everything and put it all out, which I will eventually. But for now, this I would probably move to either some more damage, some more mana. I'm also trying to get crit going, which I have a decent amount, but still not perfected or anything of that nature. You've got some recoup up here, which is nice. You take some damage, you get some back, because you're not really going to get bursted with this build. You're always kind of like staggering things out. Overall, for the passive tree here, I'll try to link a planner in the description if I can find a decent one. And then we'll go from there. Because like I said, without doing a full-fledged long video of deep diving everything, it would really extend the time. Now, if you have any questions, let me know. But right now, this is kind of what I have going. I do wish I had focused more into mana with this build. Or with my points, but I'm a little poor. There is a node here Echoing Frost, there's a lot of elemental damage here, which is our damage. There's also elemental damage if you've ignited, and I think shocked. Yeah, shocked. I'm toying with the idea of getting that rolling. But for now, I guess finally, to end things off, I would say if you have any questions or certain situations, because there's always those weird moments that pop up. If you have any questions, just comment. Let me know what they are. If you want to see the final version of this, because I'll probably take it all the way through and then try to really fine-tune it. If you want to see that, let me know. And in all honesty, if you're seeing this part in general, thank you so much for watching. Really, it means a lot. It's disheartening putting videos up and nobody sees them. So if you're at this time, thank you. And the usual, if you would considering commenting, liking, subscribing, you know, signing up for my newsletter, all that jazz, that'd be awesome. But until next time, good luck. Now your next option, if you're starting very early, is this here, Frozen, fuck.